The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from over 30 species gathered in small clusters, their voices hushed despite the vast space. They came from worlds with 3 suns, from ocean planets, and from the edges of black holes, yet they all shared one common feeling today: fear. Admiral Krell of the Arcturian Empire adjusted his ceremonial armor and leaned toward Ambassador Loth. "Is it true? Have they really sent it?" he asked, mandibles clicking with anxiety. Loth's skin rippled in the Mantodian equivalent of a nod. "The humans have deployed the Nemesis to our sector. It will arrive within 3 cycles." A visible shudder passed through their group. Even General Urzek, a massive reptilian warrior whose species had conquered 17 worlds, seemed to shrink at the news. "I've heard it can appear out of nowhere," whispered a delegate from the silicon-based Quartz Collective. One moment empty space, the next destruction. "That's nothing," said a blue-skinned diplomat. "My cousin served on an outpost near human space. He swears he saw the Nemesis absorb a direct hit from a planet-killer weapon and then return fire with twice the power." Admiral Krell snorted. "Exaggerations. No ship cold." "Do you remember the Battle of Proxion?" interrupted General Urzak. The group fell silent. No one needed reminding of how a single human vessel had decimated the most powerful fleet in the Dominion Armada. "What I don't understand," said Ambassador Loth, "is how we ever underestimated them in the first place. 20 years earlier, humanity had made its first contact with the galactic community. Earth had just developed faster-than-light travel, and their exploratory vessel, a small, ungainly ship called the Horizon, had stumbled upon a Galactic Council outpost. The Council's initial assessment was dismissive. Humans were physically unimpressive. No natural weapons, average strength, unremarkable senses. Their technology was considered primitive by galactic standards. In the vast library of spacefaring species, humanity seemed destined to be a footnote, perhaps useful for trade, but nothing more. This changed when the Dominion, a powerful coalition of militaristic species, attacked Earth's first colony on Proxima Centauri without provocation. The small settlement of 10,000 people was nearly wiped out before help could arrive. The galactic community expected humans to retreat, to abandon their colonization efforts, perhaps to beg for protection from the Council. Instead, humanity did something that shocked every observer species. They built the Nemesis. Captain Jack Reynolds stood by the viewport in his quarters, looking out at the shipyard where the Nemesis hung in space like a predator at rest. Even after commanding her for 3 years, the sight still filled him with a complex mixture of pride and solemn responsibility. The ship didn't look particularly frightening at first glance. Unlike the massive dreadnoughts of the Arcturian Empire or the organic-looking vessels of the Mantodian Alliance, the Nemesis had clean, functional lines. Its dark hull absorbed light rather than reflecting it, creating the impression that you were looking at a ship-shaped hole in space. Only the occasional pulse of blue light from the engine ports and weapon systems suggested the power contained within. A chime at his door pulled Reynolds from his thoughts. "Enter," he called, turning from the viewport. Admiral Wilson stepped into the room. Despite being in her 60s, she moved with the energy of someone half her age. Her gray hair was cut in a practical style, and her uniform bore the simple insignia of Earth Defense Command. "Jack," she said with a nod, "you've read the briefing." Reynolds gestured to his tablet. "The Dominion's on the move again. 3 neutral systems attacked in the past month. The Galactic Council is finally asking for our help." "Not just our help," Wilson corrected. "They're asking specifically for the Nemesis." A grim smile crossed Reynolds' weathered face. "Funny how quickly they've changed their tune. From primitive apes to begging for our protection in less than 2 decades. Don't get cocky. The Dominion's fleet has grown since your last encounter. Intelligence suggests they've developed countermeasures based on your previous engagements." Reynolds shrugged. "They always do. And we always have something new for them." Admiral Wilson studied him for a moment. "This mission is different, Jack. The Council intelligence suggests something bigger behind these Dominion movements. They're not just conquering for resources anymore. They're looking for something. Any idea what? No. That's part of your mission. Find out what's driving them. And if necessary, stop it. She handed him a secure data chip. Full mission details. Your crew has been notified and is preparing for departure. Reynolds took the chip and slipped it into his uniform pocket. When do we leave? 12 hours. The Council is sending a representative to join you. Reynolds frowned. We don't need a babysitter. Consider it a diplomatic necessity. Besides, having eyes on the inside of the Council might prove useful. Admiral Wilson moved toward the door but paused. Jack, I know your history with the Dominion after what happened at the colony. Remember that this mission is about protection, not revenge. After the Admiral left, Reynolds returned to the viewport. The Nemesis would soon detach from the shipyard and head toward the front lines again. He thought about his crew, the best Earth had to offer, handpicked for their skills and adaptability. What made the Nemesis truly dangerous wasn't its advanced weapon systems, its adaptive shields, or even its revolutionary stealth technology. It was the human minds that controlled it. Unpredictable, creative, and capable of the kind of lateral thinking that so often confused and confounded enemy tacticians. Reynolds had seen the reports on how alien military academies now study human warfare, trying to understand their seemingly chaotic but effective strategies. He'd heard the rumors about how Dominion ship captains would surrender rather than face the Nemesis in battle. The most feared warship in the galaxy. A metal shell filled with the most dangerous species the stars had ever encountered. Humans. Rest while you can, Reynolds whispered to the distant enemy. We're coming. The legend of the Nemesis was about to grow again. The Nemesis moved through space like a shadow, its dark hull absorbing nearby starlight. Inside the bridge, Captain Reynolds studied the holographic display showing their destination. The Vega outpost, or rather, what remained of it. Final approach to the Vega trading station, announced Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez from the helm. Her fingers moved confidently across the control panel, guiding the massive warship with precision that belied its size. Stealth systems at maximum, added Tom Miller, the ship's chief engineer. Unlike most of the crew in their neat uniforms, Tom wore a utility vest covered in tools and had a perpetual smudge of grease somewhere on his face. They won't see us coming. Reynolds nodded. Let's hope there's something left to find. David scanned for survivors. David Chen, the ship's eye specialist, was already working his console. Young and brilliant, he had written half the Nemesis's adaptive algorithms himself. No life signs detected, Captain. The station's been completely destroyed. Based on radiation signatures, I'd estimate the attack happened 48 hours ago. Reynolds frowned. Vega Outpost had been neutral territory, a trading hub where dozens of species conducted business. The Dominion's attack made no strategic sense, unless they were sending a message. The bridge doors slid open to admit their unwanted guest. Ambassador Vex of the Galactic Council moved with the floating grace of his species, 6 tentacle-like limbs mostly hidden beneath ornate robes. His large eyes blinked rapidly as he took in the bridge. Captain Reynolds, the ambassador said, his translator converting the clicks and whistles of his native language. Have we arrived at the crime scene? Reynolds gestured toward the view screen where the remains of the station were becoming visible. See for yourself. The destruction was absolute. What had once been a bustling outpost housing over 5,000 beings was now a field of debris. Twisted metal and frozen bodies drifted in the vacuum. Ambassador Vex's skin turned a pale blue, a sign of distress in his species. This is worse than we feared. The Dominion has never been so thorough in their destruction before. They were looking for something, Reynolds said, pacing the bridge. David analyzed the attack pattern. Maria, take us in closer. Keep scanning for any active data cores that might have survived. As the Nemesis drifted through the wreckage, Tom's console began beeping. "Captain, I'm picking up an energy signature at the edge of the debris field. It's faint, but it matches Dominion technology." "A trap?" Reynolds asked. Tom shook his head. "Doesn't look like it. Might be a damaged ship or an escape pod." "Approach with caution," Reynolds ordered. "Shields at maximum. Ambassador, you might want to hold onto something." The Nemesis glided toward the energy signature, weapons systems quietly humming to life. The ship's legendary adaptive shields, capable of analyzing enemy weapons and adjusting their frequencies in real time, created a barely visible shimmer around the hull. "It's a Dominion scout ship," Maria reported. "Heavily damaged. 1 life sign aboard." Reynolds smiled grimly. "Perfect. Let's go fishing." 2 hours later, Reynolds stood in the Nemesis detention center, watching the prisoner through one-way glass. The Dominion soldier belonged to the Krex species, reptilian, aggressive, and known for their fanatical loyalty. "He's not going to talk easily," said Maria, who had joined Reynolds for the interrogation. "Krex soldiers are conditioned to resist questioning." "Everyone talks eventually," Reynolds replied, "especially when they realize their masters have abandoned them." He entered the room, Ambassador Vex trailing behind him. The Krex soldier hissed, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "Human filth," the soldier spat. "Kill me and be done with it." Reynolds calmly took a seat across from him. "Why would I kill my only source of information? I'm more interested in why the Dominion is suddenly attacking neutral outposts." "I will tell you nothing." Reynolds smiled. "You don't have to." He nodded to Maria, who activated a small device. A holographic display appeared, showing the scout ship's navigational data. "Your ship's computer was damaged, but not completely destroyed. We know where you've been, and we know where your fleet was headed next." The Krex soldier's eyes widened slightly. "A tell." "What I don't know," Reynolds continued, "is why the Dominion is suddenly interested in ancient artifacts. The data we recovered mentions something called the archive." The prisoner's reaction was immediate and visceral. His scales rippled with fear. Ambassador Vex leaned forward. "The archive? That's just a myth. A repository of knowledge supposedly left by the first ones before they disappeared." "Not a myth," the Krex soldier whispered, seemingly forgetting his earlier defiance. "They found it. The Masters found its location." "The Masters?" Reynolds pressed. "You mean the Dominion High Command?" The soldier laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "The High Command are just puppets now. The Harbingers have returned. They guide us to glorious purpose." Ambassador Vex's skin paled dramatically. "Impossible. The Harbingers are just stories used to frighten children. An ancient species that supposedly seeded the galaxy with life and then disappeared." "They never left," the soldier said, his eyes taking on a fanatic gleam. "They waited. And now they've chosen the Dominion as their instrument. With the power of the archive, they will reshape the galaxy as it was meant to be." Reynolds and Maria exchanged glances. This was far beyond a simple border skirmish or resource grab. "Where is this archive?" Reynolds asked. The soldier smiled, revealing those sharp teeth again. "You're already too late, human. The fleet departs for the Helios cluster tomorrow. The archive will be ours, and then nothing, not even your precious Nemesis, will stand against us." Back on the bridge, Reynolds called his senior staff together. Tom, Maria, David, and the ship's tactical officer, Lieutenant Alex Foster, gathered around the command table. "What we're hearing makes no sense," Tom said, scratching his beard. "The Harbingers are just myths. Every spacefaring species has some version of the story." "Myths often have a basis in fact," David pointed out. "And it would explain the Dominion's sudden change in tactics. They've always been aggressive, but never this destructive without clear purpose." Reynolds turned to Ambassador Vex. "What does the Council know about the Helios cluster?" "It's an unexplored region," the ambassador admitted. "Dangerous stellar phenomena have made it difficult to survey. If something is hidden there, something ancient. It could have remained undiscovered for millennia. Reynolds made his decision. Set a course for the Helios cluster. Maximum speed. We need to get there before the Dominion fleet. Captain, Maria said cautiously, even for the Nemesis, that's dangerous territory. The radiation alone is exactly why we're the only ship that can reach it in time. Reynolds finished for her. Our shields can adapt to the radiation. I need options, people. If the Dominion believes they found some kind of super weapon or ancient technology, we need to know what we're dealing with. As the crew dispersed to their stations, Ambassador Vex approached Reynolds. Captain, if the Harbingers are real, if they've truly returned, this could change everything we thought we knew about galactic history. Reynolds looked at the ambassador grimly. What concerns me more is how it might change our future. Whatever's waiting in the Helios cluster, we can't let the Dominion reach it first. The Nemesis altered course, its powerful engines flaring to life. The hunt had begun, not just for the Dominion fleet, but for answers to a mystery as old as the stars themselves. The Helios cluster glowed like a wound in space, its swirling gases illuminated by the light of unstable stars. The Nemesis hovered at its edge, sensors probing the dangerous region ahead. Radiation levels are off the charts, Tom reported from his engineering station. His normally cheerful face was creased with concern. Even with our adaptive shields, we'll only have about 6 hours before systems start degrading. Captain Reynolds nodded, studying the holographic map floating above the central console. Any sign of the Dominion fleet? David adjusted his instruments. Nothing yet, but all this interference makes long-range scanning difficult. They could be. Wait. He straightened suddenly. Contact. 3 Dominion warships at the edge of our sensor range. Patrol vessels, Lieutenant Alex Foster said, analyzing the tactical display. Scout class. They haven't spotted us yet. Reynolds smiled grimly. Good. That means the main fleet hasn't arrived. Let's keep it that way. Maria, take us in, silent running. Stay in the radiation shadow of that larger asteroid. As Maria guided the ship forward, Ambassador Vex approached Reynolds, his large eyes blinking rapidly in anxiety. Captain, I must object to this course of action, the ambassador said. The Council authorized you to gather intelligence, not to engage the Dominion directly. With all due respect, Ambassador, Reynolds replied without taking his eyes off the display. We're in unexplored space chasing myths and legends. The rules of engagement just changed. The tension on the bridge was thick as the Nemesis slipped silently through the cluster. Every crew member knew what was at stake. If the prisoner was right about the Harbingers, about this mysterious archive, they couldn't afford to wait for Council approval. We're within visual range of the patrol ships, Maria announced. They're in standard search formation, scanning the inner cluster. Reynolds moved to the tactical station. Alex, target their engines and communication arrays. Precision strikes only. I want them disabled, not destroyed. Aye, Captain. Alex's fingers danced across his console, weapons locked and ready. Reynolds took a deep breath. Fire. The Nemesis's advanced weaponry came to life with barely a tremor. 4 brilliant energy beams lanced out into space, striking the unsuspecting Dominion vessels with surgical precision. The first 2 ships immediately lost power, drifting helplessly. The third managed to fire a single wild shot before its weapons went offline. Direct hits on all targets, Alex reported with professional satisfaction. All 3 vessels are disabled. Any distress signals? Reynolds asked. David shook his head. We got their communications before they could send anything. The Dominion fleet won't know what happened. Good work, everyone, Reynolds said. Tom, prepare a boarding party. I want their navigational data and any information about this archive. 2 hours later, Reynolds stood in the Nemesis's war room with his senior officers and 3 prisoners, Dominion commanders captured from the patrol ships. Unlike the fanatical Krex soldier they'd captured earlier, these officers belonged to the Turcan species. Tall, slender beings with gray skin and 4 eyes positioned around their elongated heads. "Your ships have been disabled, your crews confined," Reynolds told them calmly. "Tell us about the Archive and the Harbingers, and you'll be treated fairly." The lead Turcan, who had identified himself as Commander Xorl, stared at Reynolds with undisguised hatred. "You have no idea what forces you're interfering with, human. The Harbingers have chosen the Dominion. Your species is nothing but an evolutionary mistake that will be corrected soon enough." Tom snorted. "Friendly bunch, aren't they?" Reynolds leaned forward. "Let me make something clear, Commander. Right now, your main fleet doesn't know you've been captured. They don't know the Nemesis is here. That can change with a single transmission." He paused. "Tell me what I want to know, and perhaps we can reach an accommodation." The Turcan commanders exchanged glances, some silent communication passing between them. "The Archive is real," Xorl said finally. "An ancient repository of knowledge and technology left by the Harbingers. For millennia, it was just a legend, until 3 months ago when our deep space archaeologists discovered references to its location in the ruins on Proxima Vitae. And these Harbingers," Ambassador Vex interrupted. "You claim they've returned." Xorl's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "They never left. They've been dormant, waiting for worthy successors to claim their legacy. The Dominion proved worthy." "How convenient," Maria muttered. "The Archive contains weapons," Xorl continued, ignoring the interruption. "Weapons that will allow us to reshape the galaxy according to the Harbinger's original vision. A unified order under one rule." Reynolds studied the alien commander. "You believe this? That some ancient species has chosen the Dominion as their heirs?" "I have seen them, human," Xorl replied, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "I have spoken with the Harbinger emissary. Their power is beyond comprehension." Before Reynolds could respond, the ship's alert system activated with a shrill warning. "Captain to the bridge." David's voice came over the comm. Multiple contacts approaching fast. When Reynolds reached the bridge, the situation was already critical. The main view screen showed at least 15 Dominion warships entering the cluster, including 3 massive dreadnoughts. "They must have been waiting just outside sensor range," Alex said, already activating defensive systems. "They'll be within weapons range in 3 minutes. Reynolds took his command chair. "Battle stations. Shields at maximum. Ambassador, I suggest you find somewhere secure to wait this out." Ambassador Vex, however, remained on the bridge. "Captain, there are too many. Even the Nemesis can't stand against a fleet this size. We should retreat, report to the Council, and let them reach the Archive first." Reynolds shook his head. "Not an option." He turned to his crew. "Tom, divert all available power to shields and weapons. Maria, plot an intercept course. David, scan for weaknesses in their formation." As the crew prepared for battle, Reynolds studied the approaching enemy fleet. The odds were overwhelming, but the Nemesis had faced long odds before. What made this ship truly feared throughout the galaxy wasn't just its advanced technology. It was the human ability to adapt, to think laterally, to find solutions where none seemed possible. "Captain," David said suddenly, "I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the lead dreadnought. It's like nothing I've ever seen before." Reynolds frowned. "A new weapon? Possibly." Or, David worked his console feverishly. "Captain, I think they've already found something from the Archive. That energy signature doesn't match any known technology in our database." "Time to intercept?" Reynolds asked. 2 minutes, Maria replied. Reynolds stood, addressing his crew. "This is what the Nemesis was built for. We're outnumbered, yes, but they expect us to either run or fight conventionally." A grim smile crossed his face. "Let's show them why humans are the most unpredictable species in the galaxy." The Nemesis surged forward, its engines flaring brilliantly against the backdrop of the Helios cluster. As the distance to the Dominion fleet closed, Reynolds gave an order that made even Ambassador Vex stare in disbelief. All power to forward shields. Set collision course for the lead dreadnought. The Nemesis accelerated, becoming a dark arrow aimed directly at the heart of the enemy fleet. On every Dominion ship, alarms would be sounding. Commanders shouting orders, gunners scrambling to target the human vessel apparently intent on suicide. It was exactly the confusion Reynolds had been counting on. "Now, Maria," he commanded, "execute Maneuver Theta." At the last possible moment, the Nemesis veered sharply, cutting between two dreadnoughts. Its weapons fired in a precise pattern, targeting engines, weapons arrays, and shield generators. 3 smaller Dominion vessels, unable to adjust their course in time, collided with each other in their hurry to avoid the human warship. "Hit and run," Reynolds ordered. "Keep moving. Don't give them a stationary target." The battle had begun, and the legend of the Nemesis was about to grow even larger. The Nemesis shuddered as another volley of enemy fire struck its shields. Captain Reynolds gripped the arms of his command chair, watching as damage reports flooded the tactical display. "Shields at 42%, Tom called out from engineering, his voice tense but controlled. Smoke drifted from a damaged console nearby, and emergency lights cast an eerie red glow over the bridge. "That last hit damaged the port stabilizers. We can't take much more of this, Captain." Through the view screen, Reynolds watched the ongoing battle. Despite the Nemesis' impressive showing, 5 enemy vessels disabled, 2 destroyed. The Dominion fleet still outnumbered them significantly. The 3 dreadnoughts had moved into a triangular formation, trying to trap the human warship between them. "Maria, evasive pattern Delta," Reynolds ordered. "David, what's the status of that lead dreadnought? The one with the strange energy readings?" David, working frantically at his station, looked up with concern. "It's holding position at the edge of the battle. Captain, the energy signature is growing stronger. I think they're charging something big." Before Reynolds could respond, the Nemesis rocked violently. Sparks cascaded from overhead panels, and several crew members were thrown from their stations. "Direct hit to our aft section," Alex shouted over the blaring alarms. "Shields failing." Reynolds made an instant decision. "Get us out of here. Full retreat into the cluster." Maria didn't question the order, immediately altering their course. The Nemesis turned sharply, its engines flaring as it accelerated away from the Dominion fleet toward the dense heart of the Helios cluster. Ambassador Vex, who had remained on the bridge despite the danger, approached Reynolds. "Captain, the radiation levels deeper in the cluster are lethal. Even your adaptive shields won't protect us for long." "They don't know that," Reynolds replied grimly. "And right now, I'll take radiation over those dreadnoughts." As the Nemesis plunged deeper into the swirling gases and debris of the cluster, the energy readings from the lead Dominion dreadnought peaked. A brilliant beam of green energy lanced out, cutting through space where the Nemesis had been moments before. "What was that?" Tom demanded, his eyes wide as he studied the readings. "That weapon would have cut right through our shields if it had hit us. Hardinger technology," Ambassador Vex whispered, his skin pale with fear. The legend spoke of weapons that could tear apart matter at the subatomic level. Reynolds watched the tactical display as the Dominion fleet hesitated at the edge of the cluster. "They're not following us in." "Good. That gives us time." He turned to his crew. "Damage report." The news wasn't good. The Nemesis had sustained significant damage to its propulsion systems and weapons arrays. Shields were functioning at minimal levels, and several decks had been sealed off due to hull breaches. "We need time to make repairs," Tom said, already organizing repair teams. "At least 12 hours to get us back to fighting condition." Reynolds nodded. "Find us somewhere to hide, Maria. Somewhere the radiation and debris will mask our signature." "There's a dense nebula formation about 20 kilometers ahead," Maria reported. "It should provide cover, but..." She hesitated. "The radiation levels there are extreme, Captain. Even with repairs, we can't stay long." "We'll cross that bridge when we come to it," Reynolds said. "For now, get us there and power down all non-essential systems. Alex, keep passive sensors running. I want to know if anything approaches." As the Nemesis limped into the concealing clouds of the nebula, Reynolds called his senior staff to the damaged war room. They needed a new plan. "The Dominion fleet is holding position at the edge of the cluster," Alex reported, pointing to the tactical display. "They've established a perimeter. They're waiting for something." "Reinforcements, most likely," Ambassador Vex suggested. "If they've truly aligned with these harbingers, who knows what forces they might bring to bear." Reynolds studied the data they'd gathered. "What about this archive? Do we have any idea where exactly it's located?" David nodded, bringing up a three-dimensional map of the cluster. "Based on the navigational data we recovered from the patrol ships, I believe it's here." He highlighted a region near the center of the cluster. "There's something unusual about this section. The radiation patterns don't match natural formations. An artificial structure?" Tom asked. "Possibly. Something is affecting the surrounding space. It could be some kind of shielding or cloaking technology," David answered. Reynolds considered their options. The Nemesis was damaged, outnumbered, and deep in hostile territory. By all logical measures, they should retreat, return to Council space, and report what they'd discovered. That would be the prudent course of action. But humans hadn't become the most feared species in the galaxy by being prudent. "We need to reach the archive before they do," Reynolds said finally. "If even half of what we've heard is true, we can't let that kind of power fall into Dominion hands, or these harbingers, whatever they are." "With respect, Captain," Maria interjected, "how do we get past a blockade of 15 warships with our current damage?" Reynolds smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "We don't. We go through the cluster itself." Tom looked aghast. "Through the densest part. The radiation would fry our systems in minutes." "Not if we modify the shields," Reynolds countered. "David, you've been studying the cluster's radiation patterns. Is there any way we could adapt our shielding to withstand it, even temporarily?" David hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Theoretically, yes. If we reconfigure the shield harmonics to match the specific radiation frequencies of the cluster." He trailed off, already working through calculations in his head. "Do it," Reynolds ordered. "Tom, I need every bit of power you can give us for the shields. Strip non-essential systems if you have to." As his officers dispersed to carry out their tasks, Ambassador Vex remained behind. "I've been watching you, Captain," the ambassador said quietly. "All these years, the Council has tried to understand what makes humans different from other species. Why your ships, especially the Nemesis, are so feared." Reynolds raised an eyebrow. "And? Have you figured it out?" "I believe so." Vex's large eyes studied Reynolds carefully. "It's not your technology. It's not even your unpredictable tactics. It's your nature as persistence hunters." "Persistence hunters?" "Yes. Most intelligent species evolved from prey animals or from ambush predators. They either flee from danger or strike quickly and retreat if unsuccessful." The ambassador gestured at the tactical display, showing the overwhelming odds against them. "But humans, you never stop. You pursue your prey relentlessly, adapting, overcoming obstacles, no matter how long it takes. When a human ship like the Nemesis starts hunting you, the galaxy has learned there is no escape. You will find a way, no matter the cost." Reynolds considered this. "An interesting theory, Ambassador. But right now, we're the ones being hunted." Vex made a sound that might have been laughter. "Are you? Or are you merely changing the nature of the hunt?" The ambassador moved toward the door, then paused. "Your ship's name is aptly chosen, Captain. In human mythology, Nemesis was the goddess of retribution against those who showed arrogance before the gods. I wonder which side of this conflict has shown such arrogance." After the ambassador left, Reynolds returned to the bridge. Repair teams worked frantically around him, welding damaged panels, rerouting power systems, and patching hull breaches. Despite their desperate situation, not one crew member suggested retreat. The humans of the Nemesis were indeed persistence hunters. And now, deep in the heart of the Helios cluster, surrounded by enemies and deadly radiation, they prepared to continue their hunt. The true enemy waited ahead, ancient, powerful, and arrogant. They had never faced humans before. They had never faced the Nemesis. They would learn, as countless others had learned, why this human ship was the most feared vessel in the galaxy. The Nemesis drifted through the heart of the Helios cluster, its modified shields glowing with an eerie blue light as they filtered the deadly radiation. Captain Reynolds stood on the bridge, watching as the impossible structure came into view ahead of them. The archive was nothing like what any of them had imagined. It wasn't a planet or a space station. It appeared to be a massive crystalline structure, shaped like a perfect dodecahedron, each face glittering with internal light. It hung in space, seemingly untouched by the chaos of the surrounding cluster, as if the laws of physics simply didn't apply to it. Size estimate, Reynolds asked quietly. Approximately 200 kilometers across, David replied, his voice filled with awe. The energy readings are, well, they're beyond anything in our database. The structure appears to be made of some kind of crystalline material, but it's unlike any element we've encountered. Ambassador Vex stood transfixed by the sight. The archive of the Harbingers, he whispered. It's real. And we're not the only ones who found it, Alex said grimly, pointing to the tactical display. 3 Dominion ships approaching from the far side. Smaller vessels, they must have slipped through the cluster while the main fleet maintained the blockade. Reynolds nodded. They were never going to risk their dreadnoughts in here. These ships are expendable. He turned to Maria. How long until they reach the archive? 10 minutes, maybe less, she answered. We're closer, but with our damaged engines. Then we need to move now, Reynolds decided. Tom, give us everything the engines have left. Alex, ready what weapons we have. We may only get one shot at this. As the Nemesis limped forward, its battle-scarred hull reflecting the glow of the archive, Reynolds felt a strange calm settle over him. They had come too far to fail now. Beyond the view screen, the vast crystalline structure grew larger, magnificent, and terrifying in its alien perfection. Captain, David called suddenly, I'm detecting an energy surge from the archive. It's scanning us. Before anyone could respond, a beam of pure white light shot from the archive, engulfing the Nemesis. The ship's systems flickered, displays went dark for a moment, then returned to normal. What was that? Reynolds demanded. Some kind of scanning technology, David replied, checking his readings. It didn't damage any systems, but it penetrated every part of the ship, right down to the molecular level. A new alert sounded. The Dominion vessels are accelerating, Alex reported. They'll reach the archive in 5 minutes. Reynolds made his decision. Take us in. Full speed. The Nemesis surged forward, closing the distance to the archive. As they approached, one of the massive crystal faces began to change, the solid surface rippling like water. A vast opening appeared, revealing the cavernous interior glowing with the same ethereal light. It's inviting us in, Tom said, bewildered. Or it's a trap, Alex countered. Reynolds studied the opening. David, any sign of weapons powering up, force fields, anything defensive? Nothing, Captain. The structure remains passive. The Dominion ships are changing course, Maria reported. They're making directly for us now. Weapons hot. Reynolds took a deep breath. Take us inside. The Nemesis passed through the opening, entering a vast chamber that defied comprehension. The interior of the archive was larger than should have been physically possible, with soaring crystalline columns and platforms suspended in space. Everything glowed with internal light, creating an environment of otherworldly beauty. It's bigger on the inside, Tom muttered. That's not possible. According to our understanding of physics, no, David agreed, studying his readings in fascination. But clearly, the Harbingers operated on principles we don't yet comprehend. As the Nemesis glided further into the chamber, the opening behind them began to close. The Dominion ships, realizing they were about to be shut out, fired desperately. Energy weapons struck the crystal surface of the archive, but dissipated harmlessly. "The archive is sealing itself," Alex said. "The Dominion ships can't get in." A moment later, the opening vanished entirely, leaving the Nemesis alone inside the impossible structure. The ship's engines powered down automatically, and they found themselves held in place by some unseen force. "Now what?" Maria asked, looking around nervously. Her question was answered almost immediately. A figure materialized on the bridge, a being of pure energy, vaguely humanoid in shape, but constantly shifting, ripples of blue and white light flowing through its form. "Greetings, travelers," the being said, its voice resonating directly in their minds rather than through their ears. "I am the keeper of the archive. We have been waiting a very long time for worthy successors." Reynolds stepped forward cautiously. "We are from Earth. My name is Captain Jack Reynolds of the starship Nemesis." "We know who you are, humans," the keeper replied. "Just as we know of the Dominion and their misguided alliance with those who claim to be harbingers." The energy being's form rippled with what might have been amusement. "They are not what they claim to be." Ambassador Vex moved to stand beside Reynolds. "Then what are they? Who are the true harbingers?" "The harbingers were the first sentient species in this galaxy," the keeper explained. "They arose billions of years ago, flourished, and eventually transcended physical form. The beings guiding the Dominion are merely echoes, broken fragments of consciousness left behind, corrupted by time and isolation." "And the archive?" Reynolds asked. "What exactly is it?" "It is the sum total of harbinger knowledge and technology," the keeper said. "Created to guide younger species when they were ready. Many have found their way here over the eons, but none passed the final test, until now." "What test?" Reynolds asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "The test of intent," the keeper replied simply. "When faced with power beyond measure, what would you do with it? The Dominion sought conquest. They would use our knowledge as weapons to subjugate others. But you, humans," the energy being's form brightened. "You came not to claim power, but to prevent its misuse. Despite being outnumbered, despite facing certain defeat, you persisted. Not for conquest, but for protection." Reynolds looked around at his crew, humans who had risked everything on this impossible mission. "So what happens now?" "Now you have a choice," the keeper said. "The archive contains knowledge that could elevate your species to heights you cannot imagine. Technologies that would make you undisputed masters of the galaxy. It is yours to claim." Reynolds considered this for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "No, that's not why we came." The keeper's form pulsed with light. "Explain." "We came to stop the Dominion from gaining that power, yes. But we don't seek to replace them as conquerors." Reynolds gestured to his ship, the battle-scarred Nemesis that had become legend throughout the galaxy. "We built this ship as a protector, not just for humans, but for all species who wish to live in peace. If the archive contains knowledge, it should be shared with all who would use it wisely, not hoarded by any single species." A profound silence fell across the bridge. The keeper's energy form seemed to grow brighter, more defined. "In all our long watching, no species has ever given such an answer," the keeper said finally. "And that, Captain Reynolds, is why humans are truly worthy." The being of energy expanded, enveloping the bridge in gentle light. "Return to your galaxy. Deal with the corrupted echoes that call themselves harbingers. When you are ready, when all the sentient species of your galaxy are ready, the true archive will be waiting." The light intensified, blinding in its brilliance. When it faded, the Nemesis was no longer inside the archive. They hovered in open space, the Helios cluster behind them. Ahead, they could see the distant stars of Council space. More surprising, The ship had been completely repaired. Every damaged system, every battle scar, gone. "Captain," Alex said in amazement, "the Dominion fleet. They're in retreat. All of them. And there's something else. The energy signature we detected from their lead dreadnought is gone. Whatever Harbinger technology they had has been neutralized." Reynolds nodded slowly, understanding. "The Keeper has given us a chance. Not dominance, but opportunity." On the journey back to Council space, the legend of the Nemesis grew yet again, but not as a ship of destruction. The story spread of how the feared human warship had faced down the combined might of the Dominion and emerged victorious, not through superior firepower, but through the uniquely human qualities of persistence, sacrifice, and mercy. When offered the power to rule the galaxy, humans had chosen a different path. And that perhaps was why they were the most feared and most respected species among the stars.